Striker Scorpion 82 is now sponsored by Warhammer Combat Cards, a card battle game featuring your favourite Citadel miniatures from the 40k universe. Build your army decks, dominate opponents in player versus player action, collect and upgrade cards to fit your strategy, improve their power and unlock unique traits. Choose from all 40k factions, take part in campaigns based on iconic 40k battles, rise to the top of the leaderboard and win glory. Free to download and play, link is in the video description below or on the channel homepage, and by using the unique link it helps support the channel. Thanks and enjoy the game. Right, so welcome to this retro review. It's a chance to go back in time and to take a look at some of the earlier editions of Warhammer 40,000. So in this video, it'll be a full review. So we're going to go through all the pages. I'll zoom in at different times, take a look at the artwork. We've already done first edition for Warhammer 40,000. That was Rogue Trader, as it was known. So if you haven't seen that video already, then be sure to check that out on the channel. It's a chance to go back to the early stages, the birth of Warhammer 40,000 and the editions that came along after that. A great source of inspiration, some great colour schemes and so on going on. A chance to see some of the older miniatures, the older rules. We'll dip in here and there, taking a look at the different rules and seeing how they've developed over the years as well. But if you do enjoy this series, chance to go down memory lane, as people have said in the previous video, then please hit the thumbs up and leave a comment. Just really helps out the video, helps out the channel, and that's much appreciated. Do hope to make this a series. So this video, second edition of 40k, and then we may well go on to the other editions after that in future videos. So one of the big questions I have is, anyone still playing second edition? So I asked it in the first video, playing first edition. Some people said they were interested in starting up. It does look very complicated, but there may well be a few people that are still playing second edition 40k. This one is of significance to me. This is the edition where I got into Warhammer 40,000. I was 14 at the time, around about that kind of age. A friend of mine brought in this, not actually this copy here, but it was this, the rulebook section here for second edition. Remember him bringing this into school, and I just spent ages just looking at this front artwork here. This piece of artwork just was complete inspiration, just really brought me into the realm and the world of Warhammer 40,000. And it just so inspiring. For someone, 14-year-old kid sitting at school, this really was an inspiration for sure. So from there, it just was looking at the artwork. It really was the spirit how it began. I'd already previously been painting sort of military stuff like model aircraft, historical war games a little bit here and there. But then 40k came along and was just immediately gripped by the artwork. Now from there, I think quite early on I did get a subscription to White Dwarf, and again it was mostly just browsing through the magazine, admiring the miniatures, admiring the artwork. I used to redraw some of the artwork, practice the artwork and so on, and just got more and more drawn into the realm of Warhammer 40,000, and then naturally from that then started collecting the miniatures. So my first army was, let me think now, because I got this box here with the rulebook inside. It came out as a box set. It was Orcs and Space Marines, and I started painting up the models. From there I painted some Orcs, but really my first proper army was Blood Angels. That was the first proper 40k army that I started to collect, so that's where it all began. And then the rest is history. Started left 40k for a while, came back to it in 5th edition I believe, and then started the YouTube channel. But the starting point was this bit of artwork. Sitting in technology class at school, a friend of mine showed me the artwork, showed me the book. I think I borrowed it a few times, took it home and brought it back again, and then that was the start of me getting into 40k. So that piece of artwork just there was the start of my journey. So I'm semi-familiar. I'm sure buried deep in my subconscious I'll know my way around these books here, because I would have flicked through them many a time, looking up rules as we played the games. Good friends of mine used to play 40k. They had, I think now, one of them collected Chaos. My best friend had Eldar, so we used to battle against each other, Eldar against Blood Angels. But often we used to just bring all the armies that we had whatever the points, and just put them all on the table and just used all the models that we had in one big game. So second edition, I'm going to read a little bit of background information on this before we get going. A little bit different to the other editions of 40k. We're used to it being like this, where you get the book. That's the way it's been for all the editions except this one. I believe this came in a box set, so you got your models for 2 armies, a bit of cardboard terrain, dice and counters and so on, decks of cards, and then the actual edition was split into 3 sort of white dwarf size books. So soft cover, 3 sections, which we'll look at all 3 of these, makes up second edition. But the rulebook, war gear, so that's all your equipment in one, and then the Codex Imperialis, that's all of your units here, I believe, inside there. It's a different way of doing it. As I'm pretty sure, 90% sure, this was the only way to get a hold of second edition. If they did do a book like this, if anyone knows the answer to that, I don't think Games Workshop did. I think the only way to get a hold of second edition was through the box set. But correct me if I'm wrong, if they ever did do like a hardback version of second edition, then by all means leave that in the comments section below. So by all means check out the comment section. I'm sure there's some subscribers with some interesting things to say about this edition here. I'm going to read to you now just a short introduction, just to sort of give you an idea of the setting here for second edition. So first edition came out in 1987, and then in 1993 came second edition. It was published in late 1993. The new course for the game was forged under the direction of editor Andy Chambers. So now it's Rick Priestley, now shifting over to Andy Chambers, the main influence here. And they're changing the direction of the game from Rogue Trader, which was more of a individual models coming together as like a cluster of models, a unit together, and then that unit goes out and fights. Heavily sort of role play, very, very, very detailed. So second edition taking a bit of a different direction with that. The second edition came in a box set that included Space Marines, 2 10-man tactical squads, each with a sergeant with a chainsword, missile launcher and flamer, and then Orcs, 20 Orcs, 40 Gretchen, miniatures, scenery, dice, and the main rules. The box artwork and studio army depicted the Blood Angels chapter, which was that artwork there. I guess that was one of the big inspirations for me going for Blood Angels, I guess, this model here in particular. Yeah, the Devastator squads with their blue helmets, and then the Orcs here. I tried to copy that colour scheme. I remember painting up all the models, or many of the models from that set. So an expansion box set entitled Dark Millennium, which I have that set as well. It's sort of a square sized box, and instead of the rectangle size, was later released, which included rules for psychic powers. Another trait of the game was the attention given to special characters representing specific individuals from the background who had access to equipment and abilities beyond those of others. The earlier edition, Rogue Trader, only had 3 generic heroic profiles for each army: champion, minor hero, major hero. So for example, you're starting to get things like Commissar Yarrick, Gazkar, Fracker and so on, named characters with specific rules. You're starting to see that now in second edition. That continues all the way through to 9th edition today. The second edition introduced major revisions to the lore and would go on to define the general character of the lore up until 8th edition. The Adeptus Mechanicus, prohibition on artificial intelligence, was added, stemming from an ancient cataclysmic war between humans and sentient machines. This was inspired by the Dune novels. So that gives you some kind of background on what to expect here at 40k second edition. So a lot of the background fluff and information that we read about today, it seems to have been solidified here in second edition. You're going to continue seeing some of the factions that, well, there's a lot of squats in here, which I just lament that they're not available. Whether Games Workshop will ever bring them back. Again, if anyone wants to discuss that in the comment section, then what is stopping Games Workshop from bringing them back? Could it be that we see the squats return? I can't see why not. You have dwarves in Warhammer. It makes sense to bring them back in 40k, although they seem to be written out of the lore. I'm sure they could bring them back somehow. But what we'll do now is we'll go in this order. I think the order as we see it here: the rulebook first, then we'll take a look at the war gear book, and then the Codex Imperialis lastly. It's about the size of a regular rule book if you add it all together. So we'll crack open the book here. So I have to prop this up with another book because it's the soft cover edition here. But this is the rule book. The artwork here, massive inspiration. And then it takes me back. So I tried to recreate this. This is one of the bunkers here. Back in those days, it was all building stuff yourself. Here, see this badge here, the double-headed eagle. Games Workshop had that as a like a pin badge that you could buy. I remember buying it, and then incorporating that into my terrain as well. Similar to how you see in this image just here. But I remember the scratch built terrain was a major feature of what it was to get into 40k for second edition. So it's Goths here. If you're wondering why did I choose Goths, you know, when I started collecting sort of more modern orcs, then it goes back to my early colour schemes. That's what I was painting up here, second edition. But it says here by Rick Priestley and Andy Chambers. So they haven't fallen out. They're working together to produce second edition. But Andy Chambers stepping in and having a big influence on the direction that 40k was going. Just your contents, instructions on how to assemble your plastic miniatures. It's a major feature of second edition, and they were good. Gretchen Models. I was actually a big fan of the Gretchen Models. I remember trying to think of different colour combinations just to try and make them look different because they're all moulded the same. Tells you what you get inside the box. That's right, the Dreadnought was on cardboard. There was a cardboard on a slotter base. Yes, that's right. I don't think we ever used it. Just couldn't bring ourselves to use a cardboard cutout. Just seemed complete heresy. Cardboard terrain. I still have this set hidden away somewhere. And you can pick it up. It's about £100 on eBay. I think you can get a hold of it for. It's 40k second edition. That's the box, the miniatures and the rules and so on. So it's still quite obtainable. Starting the game. Deployment zone. 24 inches apart, 12 inches in on the flanks, but that 24 inch range distance is familiar to us at 9th edition. Deployment, you had a strategy rating to tell who deploys their models first. Space Marines at the top, then Eldar, Orcs, Chaos Tyranids last. Interesting. There's rules for infiltrators, just here. Then mission cards, it's establishing your victories in the game. So quite straightforward. You're getting victory points for destroying vehicles, infantry, characters. Just picking up points, just kill points basically. The game length, you roll a d6. 1 or 2, it's a 3-turn game. 3 to 4, it's 4 turns. 5 to 6, it's a 5-turn game. So imagine the turns were longer, more detailed, but there may well have been less turns to actually play it. Now that's just strange. I'm going to zoom in here. This looks like a Gene Stealer cult type piece of artwork here. So yeah, because it looks like Guardsmen, but they've got the Gene Stealer cult. There's almost like a chaos marking on there as well, but it can't be both. But Gene Stealer cults marking on here. I think it's just called Gene Stealers, but since it's become Gene Stealer cults, but it's like Traitor Guardsmen here that have been incorporated into that. There they are. There's a Magus, I think, something like this one here. Fascinating piece of artwork, and that looks like they're besieging some Imperial fortification here of some kind. But there they are. So the idea of Gene Stealers and Gene Stealer cults is very early on here. You're finding it in second edition. Obviously, it's something that gets a lot more established later on. You know, 8th, 9th edition. Games Workshop bringing out a whole range for Gene Stealer cults. So, moving along, talking about characteristics. Pretty much the same as what we have now. The initiative's disappeared, but an orc here, movement 4. So what you got in second edition is your individual movement allowances. So you know, orcs slower, Eldar quicker. That's something we know in 9th edition, but it wasn't always that way in editions between second and 9th edition, there was sort of fixed amounts of movement. So just all infantry move 6, for example, vehicles move 12. Games Workshop since then have now gone back to individual movements, so certain vehicles move quicker, others are slower, as it was here in 2nd edition. So weapon skill, ballistic skill, strength, toughness, wounds, initiative, which has gone attacks and leadership. So it's very familiar. It's amazing. 1993 and now 2021, and you know your stat lines virtually the same. So it's amazing how Games Workshop have kept that consistency throughout the editions. Talk about different types of armour: flak armour, mesh armour, power armour. Talk about squads and unit coherency. 2 inches. As per usual, it's a lot tighter now for 9th edition, but you could spread them out a bit. Cavalry being discussed. The Atalan warriors, horsemen, rough riders at Vatala. Never got a box, always wanted to get them. I just wish Games Workshop would bring them back. Can you imagine these Rough Riders in plastic, multi-pose, real cavalry auxiliary units for the Astra Militarum with exploding lances? Oh boy, we can dream. Maybe one day we'll see them, but what a glorious plastic kit they would be. They'd be incredible, and they'd sell them by the bucket load. Let's talk about the turn. Turn sequence then, no command phase, movement, shooting, hand-to-hand combat. Then comes the psychic phase at number 4, and then rallying there at number 5. So psychic phase later on in the turn. Space Lords here. So talking about movement phase, very nice piece of art, Eldar artwork here. So movement phase then is charges first, actually. Yeah. So you declare your charge, do your compulsory movement, just units that are running, I guess. You move the charges, and then your remaining moves to the rest of the units that are on the board. Obstacles, charge, running, hiding. So running troops move at double pace. So for example, human with a 4-inch move would move 8 inches in a turn. So it's quite straightforward. You can run and double the speed. Hidden units. Yeah, she talks about hiding here. You can, if you're in cover and it's infantry, you can't hide dreadnoughts and cavalry and so on. But infantry going into cover, as long as you don't run with them, you can hide. Do normal movement distance. You can't charge or run. When you go into cover, you hide, put a marker next to them. They can't do anything, but they're hidden away. So it's a pretty good rule. You could hide them, but it's a mechanic that would mess things up, I think, in the current edition. And it's saying here, you need to use common sense. Obviously, a Space Marine can't hide behind a lamppost or a chain link fence, but he could most certainly hide behind a bush or a wall if it was big enough. So a bit of interpretation there required. I'm going to zoom in at this artwork. I always love this piece here. So just the Orcs charging across the battlefield, rain coming down, and fighting against the Marines. There's a dead Marine just tucked in down there. I think one of their war buggies by the looks of it. But always love the pose of all these Orcs here. Charging in. They've just destroyed a land speeder just at the top there. And blown up as it's in the sky. But that's a Rhino, I think. And it's Ultramarines, I think they're fighting against. Yeah, Orcs against Ultramarines in this fight. Another inspirational piece of artwork. Love this one here. Hidden models, spotting hidden models, detecting hidden models, firing on detected models, hiding movements. You won't guarantee to be hidden, you could be detected. But I always love this piece of artwork. That was a scary concept in Tyrians at that size and scale, and the artwork for them and the concept of them at this stage I thought was fantastic. Battling away against the Eldar versus Tyrians, a real classic down through the lore of 40k. It's a striking scorpion firing his mandiblasters right into the face of this Hive Tyrant. Is it a Hive Tyrant or a Tyranny Warrior? I'm not sure how this one developed later on, but it's a big thing for sure. Then moving on to shooting phase. You did have Arc of Fire, so depending on which way your models were facing, that was the way that you could. So there's a lot of sometimes remember arguments over, well, you can see, you can't see, because the way the angles worked here. Just, you know, being able to fire all the way around, it was a lot easier. This did end up in some discussions or arguments as to who could see and so on, because you had to make sure your models were facing the right way when shooting. And let's give you an example here of how it works. Just a picture of the squats, just space dwarves. Talking about cover, this is the Blood Angels fighting away here. Choosing a target, and remember flicking through these rules, we consulted with these often during the game. I remember all of this. Range, so the different arcs of firepower here in this diagram, just facing in different directions from the wall. Space Marines fighting back to back so they can see in all directions. There's your modifiers. -1 to hit if you're in soft cover. -2 if it's hard cover. Shooting a rapid moving target, -1. And so on, shooting a large target such as a land raider. Then weapon modifiers, short range, long range, 7+ to hit, used to be a roll. 7+ was D6, needing a 6 first of all, and then followed by a 4+, for example, to get a 7. This is damage chart, which this concept ran for many editions here. So you take your strength and you compare it to the exact number here, the target's toughness, and that gives you what you need. So strength 7, toughness 6 is 3 to wound. It's been simplified now for 9th edition, I think 8th edition previously as well. Then you've got your save modifiers. So bolt pistols -1. And the example they use here is mesh armor, which is a 5+, and that drops it to a 6. Melter guns -4, you don't get a save, and so on. Spatial artwork here, full page. Removing your casualties, moving and firing, hand-to-hand combat. Blast markers. So again, it's a bit of argument sometimes, you know, what models were covered by the marker and so on. You had to say the marker is going to land here, and you're a scatter dice, and it moves across in a certain direction. Sometimes there was arguments about which way the arrow was pointing on the dice. Is it a little bit over this way or this way? You know, you're trying to do it fairly, and then sometimes people try and stretch it to try and catch as many models as possible. So there were those kind of issues to be dealt with. Games Workshop have seen these things and have tried to iron it out there, where it's just you pick a target, there's no blast markers involved, it's just a number of shots. And it does work better. But you lose a little bit of the realism because you could have a friendly unit there and an enemy unit just there. You could fire a battle cannon in from a Liam Russ, and you blow up the enemy unit, but you don't even scratch the other unit that's next to it. So you lose a bit of the realism of a blast, which is a radius as reflected by blast markers. That is one of the bonuses of it, or was one of the bonuses. It just felt a little bit more realistic. And the ability for shots to scatter as well, where you're hitting, or it's moving, landing somewhere else, sometimes not hitting anything at all, or even sometimes scattering onto a friendly target, which again was realistic. It meant you had to be a little bit more careful when firing at a target which had friendly units nearby, because there was the risk of hitting a friendly target. But that mechanic's all gone now with the simplified version. So there's pros and cons to it. A bit more tricky with the rules, but on the upside you got the realism. There's Ogrins with artwork there. Scatter, and it could go wild. Yeah. So sometimes they put a mechanic in here to try and cut down the wildness of how things could scatter, because it could go to like 12 inches, I believe, 2d6. Yeah. So they limited it here as well. Had some things to limit that. Targeting the ground. Template weapons like flamers, sustained fire, weapon malfunctions. Overwatch was available. Preparing Overwatch, losing Overwatch, firing on Overwatch. Yeah, so the way Overwatch worked and I thought was quite fair, I believe, is you didn't shoot. You declare at the start of your turn what units are going into Overwatch. Only whole squads can go into Overwatch. It's not possible to place some models in Overwatch and others not. Vehicles and characters may go into Overwatch. An Overwatch counter is placed next to troops on Overwatch as a reminder. Models on Overwatch may do nothing during their turn. They may neither move nor shoot, for example. The Overwatch counter remains in place so that the model is still in Overwatch when it comes to the opposing player's turn. I thought it was quite fair. Just you're on guard and ready to shoot, and then you're not allowed to do anything else, which I thought was fair enough. There was a fair amount of counters, little square counters of different shapes, meaning different things, that came in with the set. I guess one of the advantages with the box set was you've got all your rules, models, all your counters and templates all in the one package, so in a way it was a good concept in that regard. Hand-to-hand combat. So you throw your attack dice, work out combat score, determine the winner, number of hits, throw to damage, and then save and throws. You've got parry rules, fumble and critical hit rule. So a little bit of the depth of Rogue Trader, but it's just encapsulated into simplified rules. Combat score modifiers, throw to damage, save and throw, multiple combat, squad coherency, breaking off, and follow up. An example of a hand-to-hand combat. And there it is. Then breaking and rallying. Squad has to take a break test if it loses 25% or more of its current strength shooting and or hand-to-hand combat during a single turn. So you've got to lose a fair chunk of casualties, and it's not a gradual grinding down, but it's got to be a chunk all in one go. Take leadership, roll 2d6, equal to or less, you pass. And that's it. The colour artwork. So the Adeptus Mechanicus Pontifex Maximus written across it. I think this piece of artwork's in the 9th edition rulebook, I believe. It's made it all the way through. Insane Bravery and Craven Cowardice rules. Chance to rally, Space Marine Shaken rules. And now some of the photographs here worth zooming in to take a closer look. So here we have Eldar against Space Wolves this particular time. Always loved the Space Wolves, never got into collecting them, but always liked them. This reminds me of my friend's set he had here. There's the Howling Banshees, he always used to run those. Guardians. Like a lone fire dragon with a fire pike here. This is their custom terrain. Used to make my own terrain out of polystyrene on a base and then cover it in PVA, glue and sand, texture it and paint it up. Example of Blood Angels here. Love the concept here of this. I guess that's a Blood Angels captain. Space Marines of the Blood Angels chapter. It's the Terminators. It's the early Mark armour here. Not sure what mark it is, but always love the concept of that one. Proper retro stuff here. World Eater Chaos Space Marines. There's 3 examples of them. Orc Runt Herd, so very early on that concept was there. And then a Slanesh Noise Marine with his sort of leopard skin type power armour. Eldar Warlock. And you can go on eBay, type up, Warhammer 40K OOP models, and these are still available at semi-sensible prices. You can get one like a Warlock here, for example, about £10, something like that. So they're not unobtainable. This is the plastic Orcs that came in with the 2nd edition set. I remember pasting these up exactly as you see them there. I did the same basing, same colour scheme, tried to copy them exactly. Remember spending a long time working on my Orc flesh painting technique and just adding on the layers of white and yellow just to really bring the skin out. Remember that. And Eldar Harlequin. I just having a moment of inspiration myself here. I could maybe do a retro video of some of my old models. You know, that's an idea. If you like the idea of that, leave it in the comment section. Just to bring out models like this that no one's ever seen on the tabletop, because I've not used them before, or they're out of date, but I could certainly show everybody what I've got. Eldar Howling Banshee Aspect Warrior. The Swooping Hawk, that nice colour scheme there, and a Space Wolf Iron Priest. Painted up. I think I'll stay zoomed in. I'll give you a chance to see all of these. It's times of opportunity for a bit of inspiration. You can borrow colour schemes for your own ideas. Blood Angel Space Marine Chaplain with Plasma Pistol. Like the banner on that one, the skeleton with the chalice. Slaanesh Noise Marine. Just here. Blood Angel's Apothecary carrying a banner for some reason. There's your Zinch Chaos Space Marine or Thousand Suns. But you know, very familiar here. An Eldar Farseer. Again, something like that. Your Dark Angels Space Marine Bike, that's your attack bike. Really like the look of that. And then there's your Eldar Dreadnought. And this piece of artwork, this setup was a big inspiration, but really enjoying this one. Looking at the artwork, there's the Space Marine Dreadnought, there's the Orc Dreadnought. Just there. Now this, yeah, this is it. This set here. This is a Blood Angels Tactical Squad. And what you got with these, I believe, was like plastic sprues mixed with lead components, and you sort of stuck them together. I think Games Workshop did a standard plastic set and then expanded on that with like plastic and lead or metal components. But I remember this Tactical Squad, I remember painting up that sergeant exactly as you see it there. I think that's a melter gun. There's the rest of them there. I remember getting that Tactical Squad. Loved that Tactical Squad, really did. So that's a different mark armour on these ones. There's the cone-shaped head ones just there in the blue. Blue helmets. Orcs, Bad Moon Orcs, Orc vehicle. There's the old Guz Carfracker model. And there's a runt herd with a load of little grots with swords and shields going against Terminators. Captain Apothecary, so you're starting to see these characters intermixed. You're starting to see the armies fill out very nicely. Now stay zoomed in because we'll roll over. There's more artwork here. Tyranids, I never knew anyone that had early Tyranids here. These ones at the back I think are Tyranid Warriors. I do like the colour scheme here, blue, yellow, red. Very striking. Gene Stealers. There's the Magus. Just there. And some other character for the Gene Stealers. And then there are some cult members here, like half man, half Gene Stealer type models. So very early on, second edition, you're starting to see these models becoming available, but very rare. I'd imagine they're quite hard to get a hold of. It's a three-way battle here. Oh, I've just spotted, I've never seen that before. I have just spotted something. Yeah, there he is. That is a Zote, I think. We talked about them in the previous video. There's an Eldar Heavy Weapons platform. There's sort of a few lone Hormagaunts dotted about, but they're not in the masses that you see them in later editions. There's one, and there's one just there. At the back here, you got your Dark Reapers. Remember trying to get a hold of these trees as well. I had a few of them, got them from model railway shops. Farseer, Guardians. More Guardians here. They could be Dire Avengers. I think they may well be if they were an option. We'll see later on. Howling Banshees again. And then there's the Space Marines taking part in the fight as well. So Blood Angels. Looks like a Devastator type squad here. Sort of. Tyranid Warriors again. I think they're Tyranid Warriors. Just a single Zote model. And there's your Blood Angels captain. So, inspirational stuff. An Imperial Inquisitor. I imagine that model was as rare as hen's teeth. Nurgle Plague Marine. You really were quite limited if you wanted to diversify though. Your odd model here and there. Dark Angels Captain. Painted almost like a metallic dark green. Strange sort of green used on that one. Eldar Warwalker. Guzkar Fracker and Makari the Gretchen. Super retro. Brilliant model though. And you know, amazing paint scheme on these. You know, brilliantly painted. And the banner's a real inspiration. And then Space Wolf Terminators. Looking very impressive as well. Look at the basing. This was the standard way to base models. That's the way I painted mine up. The colour was Gretchen green, if I remember rightly. Used to get through a lot of pots of Gretchen green. Brilliant. Always loved the colour scheme on this Space Marine here. Would still look pretty good. It's just a Space Marine Captain. I don't know what chapter that is. It could even be Dark Angels. There's a little bit of red just on the shoulder pad there, and it might be just a slight variant just with the artist's own colour scheme going on with that, their own take on the green. There's a squat heavy weapons bike. There's the squats with their runic type font here, like similar to Lord of the Rings and so on. Evil Sun's Orc. A heavy weapon of some kind. Ultramarine Terminator. Eldar Guardian. A Chaos Terminator Space Marine. A Dire Avenger Exarch, so they did have Dire Avengers. Space Wolf. Or Wolf Guard Sergeant. Dark Angels Scout Sergeant. Space Marine, it is Dark Angels, look. That's the colour scheme for him. So that captain at the top is Dark Angels. That one just there. Space Marine Captain, Dark Angel Terminator Captain as well. So there was diversity. What miniatures I don't remember here. There was good enough diversity. Remember, you used to get the little blister packs and expand your army out with individual models. So Eldar Guardians and Howling Banshees ambush a squad of Blood Angels. And then there's a Librarian model there as well. And across here, the classic matchup, Tyranids and Geases assault Eldar Aspect Warriors. Look at that, square bases. On those square bases and the old Carnifex as well. And more colour here, we'll stay zoomed in. So that's just Blood Angel Space Marine Dreadnought. A Bad Moon Space Orc Dreadnought. That's the Tyranid Screamer Killer, Carnifex, and there's the Chaos Dreadnought. Just there. I used to love this bit of artwork here, inspiration for building your own terrain. I used to be on the lookout for any of my dad's garage, different items that I could use to make terrain pieces. Here they are fighting away. Space Marines trying to defend this compound. Eldar already broken in. There's your Fire Dragons. And I love the idea of these individual banners carried on the backs of all the models. Just really added to the glamour of the Eldar. A lot more banners about. You know, sergeants carrying banners, not popular now. I don't see that very often, which I think is a shame. And the banners here, even on the individual Dark Reapers as well. And again, there's the Howling Banshees moving in for the kill. See if there's one more page of colour, which there is. So a Banshee Exarch just here. A Grey Hunter Space Wolf Sergeant. Nice pose in that model. Nice. There's the banner, beautiful banner on this one. That's the Wolf Guard Space Marine banner. There's the Land Speeders. Tyranny Warriors. Striking Scorpions. Again, it's the individual banners. I just love the idea of that. We have a banner, whether that'll make a comeback. Space Orc Knob. The Rune Priests with the Cyber Raven. Just there for the Space Wolves. There's a Blood Angel Space Marine Librarian. It's the Magus, the Genesis of the Cults. The World Eater Chaos Space Marine. The Striking Scorpion Exarch. And then the Ultramarines Combat Squad. Yeah. And it was the pose. It looks more modern here, the way these have come out. But I'm pretty sure that was a combination of metal and plastic going on with those, and you could paint them up for whatever chapter you wanted to. But Ultramarines looking impressive just there. There's more nice colour feature going on. Another nice bit of artwork. There is like a Dark Angels Raven Wing style something just there. Dreadnought. Eldar units. Just look around and see if there's anything new. No, but you can see the two chapters. You often saw this, multiple chapters working together, just the sort of limited range that was available. You saw combined forces fighting together. Eldar Warlock. Again, you can gain some inspiration for colour schemes from these. Dark Eldar, or Eldar Reaper, Aspect Warrior. There's the Harlequins. Exactly how they should be painted. Brilliant colour scheme on that one. Very cool. Imperial Guard Commissar. Just here. Eldar Guardian. Servitor. Space Marine. A Gretchen with a blunderbuss style weapon. Another Harlequin. Just here. And there's your Imperial Assassin. Just there. And Ragnar Blackmane, Captain of the Spatial Chapter of the Space Marines of his double banner. And a little bit more. There he is in all his glory. Fantastic concept. Brilliant sculpt. Superbly painted. Commissar Yarrick. I'm sure anyone that got a hold of that model was proud to add him into the Imperial Guard army. A Bad Moon Orc Big Boss. Space Wolf Captain. Bollinger Space Marine Sergeant. Just love that model. I tried to copy it when I painted them up exactly as you saw it there with the banner as well. And you had to make the banner yourself. A couple of bits of like piano wire. Deathwing Terminator. Ultramarines Captain. And a huge vehicle here. Space Orc Goth Brain Crusher. If anyone knows, was that available? It looks scratch built, so I doubt that was available as a kit. I could be wrong. Looking a little bit scratch built though, so I don't think that was just something that the team put together. So fascinating to see those models. It's great to see the old sculpts, and you can't write off stuff that comes further back in 40k history and development. There's some amazing ideas for colour schemes. There's an Astra Militarum colour scheme that I'd really like. I'd love to duplicate it one day and sort of do like a retro painted army. I'd love to do that kind of idea, to sort of honour the past, use, reinterpret and reuse a colour scheme, because there's some great ones that you can copy and use in your own ideas. So you've got psychology here, terror, stupidity, frenzy, hatred, all explained. Heroic characters. So you still had just generic ones. Human, champion, hero, mighty hero. Just the increasing stat lines for those. Psychers as well. Psyker champion, master psyker and psyker lord. For example. Characters as squads. Commanders. Battle standard, beautiful artwork here. I think that's worth taking a little look at. Really nice. Ultramarines. Chapter banners are three of the oldest and most revered Space Marine chapters: the Ultramarines, the Blood Angels, and the Space Wolves. That one, another fantastic bit of artwork. So, another way to be inspired is to copy one of these banners. To paint that, imagine that painted up the Blood Angels on a huge banner for your chapter ancient, and recreate that. Fantastic. And the Space Wolves set. Look at all this detail. Really, really nice. So, fantastic piece of artwork that. Psionics, so here about Psychers, really in the order that the turn was done, so it's a bit later on in the turn. Look at this guy. Shade. Vehicles, I remember this. Inside the box you also got a stack of data cards, sort of that kind of size, and it had all of your stats. So Land Raider. I'll zoom in so you can, because I'm sure many people will not be familiar with this. So you got a card. It was in colour, I remember, and you pulled the cards out that you needed and had them as a reference. I think it was a good idea. So vehicle data, you got the ram value, strength, D12 damage, -5 save. This is for a Land Raider, so you could ram into stuff, which is quite cool. Movement slow, 7-inch, combat speed 14, fast 20. Tracked, crew, 1 Space Marine driver, 2 Space Marine gunners. And then weapons, 4 las cannon, 2 linked in each side mount, and twin heavy. And remember, vehicles had firing arcs, so your sponsors could only shoot in certain directions. And twin heavy bolters linked on a pintle mount. Each pair of las cannon has a targeter and a 180-degree field of fire to their side of the vehicle. Heavy bolters are also fitted with targeters and a 360 field of fire. The Land Raider may be fitted with a set of auto launchers carrying frag and blind grenades at a cost of +5 points. You can transport 10 Space Marines of power armor or 5 Terminators, or 1 Dreadnought. Land Raider may also be used to tow a piece of field artillery. 220 points. Not much, it's about. Yes, that sounds quite familiar. And then use your weapons. Damage on a laser cannon, 2d6. If you've got that kind of damage, there must be a certain amount of wounds. Doesn't say, I don't think, what your starting number of wounds are. Armor penetration, you're trying to break through the armor, d6 plus d4 plus 5. Heavy bolter, sorry. Laser cannon is 2d6 damage, -6 or 5, and 3d6 or something. Damage on that, can't quite see. Movement, moving vehicles, turning vehicles, because you had to pivot them as you move them, a little bit more complicated. Movement types, bikes, trikes, walkers, skimmers and so on. Boarding and leaving vehicles, you can go out of control of them as well. You could lose control as they're taken damage and destroyed. Collisions, ramming and overruns, that was tricky business to resolve in games as well. Shooting from and at vehicles. That's your arcs. Range, link weapons, arm penetration. Tells you here. Then you go on to your hand-to-hand combat. Collisions, shooting from bikes, mounting and dismounting and falling off bikes. Hit and run attacks. Dreadnoughts or warwalkers. And again, you've got these data sheets for them. Crashes and collisions. Skimmers. Pop-up attacks. Heard of this one. A skimmer that was either stationary or travelled at slow speed in its previous move is allowed to make a special type of attack called a pop-up attack. You must declare that a skimmer will pop up in the move phase. Instead of moving across the table, the skimmer moves upwards. Place the skimmer on a mug, plastic cup, or some other object to show that it has popped up to a high altitude. Any models that are on Overwatch are allowed to shoot at the skimmer as it pops up. In fact, this is usually the only way the skimmer can be shot at when it uses this tactic. In the shooting phase, skimmers that are making a pop-up attack may trace their line of sight to a target as if they were up 12 inches above the table, as can any enemy models shooting back on Overwatch. Models that fire on a skimmer that has popped up must add 12 inches to the range. Note this penalty does not apply when the skimmer shoots back, as its shots don't have to fight against the force of gravity. After the attack has been completed, the skimmer drops back down again, so it's an ambush ability with skimmers. I'm sure a lot of Eldar fans would be happy to see that rule return. A very intricate and detailed bit of artwork here, the Orcs. The detail is incredible. Orcs hanging off the side of this big battle wagon. Again, hanging off the side of the vehicle. And look at this concept here. The cap and the claw. It's the artist's own take on how the Orcs look like. Contact with alien races always renews one's faith in humanity. It is my belief that foreign travel narrows the mind wonderfully. It's attributed to Helm Bosch. So, Very nice bit of artwork here. Mostly in black and white, if you're noticing. Yes, we've got the cover, but not much celebration of the artwork in colour. Buildings. I've almost finished this book here, just covering buildings. Look at this. Like a Necromunda style unit here. Hand-to-hand combat in buildings, destroying buildings. Special rules. Designer's notes. Weapon summary. Basic rules. And I remember this was handy, just a reference here at the back of the book. Running, Overwatch, hiding. It's all pretty much covered here. Basic weapons covered. And then hand-to-hand combat. There it is. Ah, yes, all covered on here as well. So your basic turn sequence, movement, shooting, and then continues on over the other side. Not perforated. Nothing about copyright. Some future book said you are free to photocopy for your own reference only, but there's no mention of that here. I think they weren't too worried about people just making their own copies of the rules, just as a handy reference. If anyone's still playing this, by all means leave it in the comment section below. Second edition 40k. If you are, that'd be fascinating to hear from you and how you get on and how long you've been playing second edition and so on. Is it a good set? And if you're able to compare it in any way to the other editions, especially 8th, 9th edition, then by all means leave that in the comment section as well. But there we are. I looked at the rulebook first of all, give an idea of the flavour of the rules. So a bit of a showcase for the models as well. Next booklet or book here is the War Gear book for second edition 40k. Alright, so moving on to the next one, we'll take a look at War Gear. And the great thing about this, if I remember rightly, is a lot of the War Gear is illustrated. So you get a chance to see some of the weapons drawn out here as well. So this is Eldar from the Alatok craft world. Struggle against the bad moons. How you can tell what craft world it is, I've no idea, because they're all it's the same models they've been using previously here. I think these are snotlings. We'll just zoom in. Just mounted on their little square bases, units of 5 or 6. But definitely bad moons. You can see the colour scheme running through for them, so that's fine. But Eldar not looking any different than from the previous artwork that we've seen, but they're a Alatok. Just there. Some, terrain inspirational trains was very well put together, as you can see the arms and ammunition. Nice work done there on the terrain. There's the old concept Rhino plastic kit available with the handrails that ran around. It was a very good touch. And then Space Marines, a little bit out of coherency by the looks of it, but it's just giving you an idea of how they look. And there's a gun of some kind being manned by a servitor. So again, Rick Priestley, Andy Chambers. And look, it's a full spread, loads of stuff, but it's all your weapons, different weapon types here. It's going to give you their fluff and then your rules as well. So introduction, just giving you an idea of the way the stats work. Special rules being talked about, and you've got the weapon types is hand-to-hand combat weapons, pistols, basic weapons, heavy weapons, and then grenades. So there's your rule. We'll pick out a few rules here and there as we go along, but starting with Eldar here, Banshee masks, blades and saws, bone swords was pretty nasty. The weapon itself was strength 6. Damage 1, save modifier -3, so nasty enough. You can use it to parry, and then armor penetration D6 plus D12 plus 6, which sounds nasty enough. Chain fist, D20 plus D4 plus D6 plus 10. It's a fair combination of penetrating armor. Save modifier -6, strength 10, damage D4, scary weapon. Chainsword, 2d6 plus 4, armor penetration, EP -1. Right, so the bone sword doesn't sound that great at all, really. Harlequin's Kiss. I'll have a look at this. It's the Crozius Arcanum, no armor penetration at all, strange. So Harlequin's Kiss is used only by the Eldar Harlequins, and its Eldar name means Kiss of Evil. It's a tubular weapon that straps to the back of the forearm. By punching forward, the Harlequin activates the weapon and releases a tightly curled 100-metre long monofilament wire, a wire only 1 molecule thick. If the tip of the weapon touches the enemy, the wire filament pierces the armour and flesh and instantly uncoils inside the victim's body. So 100 metres of this wire. Within the space of a heartbeat, the enemy's insides are reduced to the consistency of soup, and the wire whips back into the Harlequin's kiss. So there it is. It is a scary weapon. Determine hand-to-hand combat hits as normal. If a hit is scored, the target makes an immediate armour save and throw. If the save is passed, the target is unharmed. If the wire fails to penetrate, the armour. If the save is failed, the model is auto-killed. Harlequin's kiss may be used against armoured targets, such as dreadnoughts and vehicles, but it cannot cause damage unless it's able to penetrate the armour protecting the crew. The Harlequin's kiss has its own special rule for penetrating armour. Determine how many points of armour are penetrated, roll a d6. If the score is 1 to 5, then that is the amount of armour penetrated. If the score is 6, then roll another d6 and add the score to the first. If the second dice is also a 6, add the score to a further d6 and so on until a number of less than 6 is rolled. The chances are that the kiss won't penetrate even the most weakly protected vehicle, and most vehicles have at least 8 points of armour. But if the player is very lucky, a small chink may be found which allows the wire to wreak devastation inside. If the target is penetrated, roll a d6 and refer to the chart below. So if you roll a 1 crewman is killed by the wire. 2 to 4, roll a d6 for each crewman. 1 to 3, they're unaffected, 4 plus they're killed. 5, roll a d6. On a 2 or more, the crew is killed, and then a 6, all crew are killed. So, interesting. So often you would be referencing this book as well. This was, looking up your weapons, you'd have to flick through this book constantly, just looking up the different abilities, special rules and so on. I've got a Harlequin's kiss, what do? I'm fighting against a vehicle. You have to go to this book here and then find your weapon and then check all the rules and so on. There's a lot of detail there, specific rules about one particular weapon. The Lightning Claws, now 9th edition Games Workshop, bring those stats often into the unit entry, so you've got all your stats for the model and all their war gear mostly is covered, and special rules as well, it's all in one spot. Lightning Claws, Mandiblasters, Power Axe. I'm sorry, I've got to, because the Striking Scorpions. We'll cover, I'm not going to do loads, but we'll do a few more. I wanted to read about Mandiblasters here, just to see what it has to say. So the helmets of the Striking Scorpions incorporate a pair of weapon pods positioned and shaped much like the mandibles of a scorpion. Each pod houses a mandible blaster or mandiblaster, a unique and deadly device also known as the sting of the scorpion. The mandiblaster is an extremely short-range weapon, useful only at a distance of a foot or so. The weapon is activated by the psychic pickup in the helmet and fires a stream of tiny metallic needles straight forward into the target. These needles cannot do much damage themselves, although in the case of unarmoured targets they can tear and lacerate flesh, but they act as a conductive medium through which the Striking Scorpion delivers an intense laser energy sting. How interesting. This laser energy vaporizes the tiny slivers of metal into plasma, which rips straight into the target. The Mandiblaster is a highly effective first strike weapon, which is designed to be used to disorientate or kill an opponent before combat is joined. It is brought into play while Aspect Warrior's opponent is still a metre or two away, enabling the Eldar to get in close to deliver a vital attack before the enemy can recover and while they're most vulnerable. So the thing is, right, because there is this whole war gear book, you're able to get a little bit of background information on all these weapons. So even as a reference, this is quite a resource here, this war gear book. Even just for the fluff of the different weapons. Very interesting reading. You could read about a weapon each night before you go to bed to see what they do. Special rules then. The Mandiblaster automatically shoots before the combat proper is worked out. This is worked out in exactly the same way as shooting, representing the model blasting away at short range before its opponent's close. Once close combat has been started, Mandiblasters have no effect, so you don't roll any extra dice because you're carrying them. If a hit is scored, searing laser arcs leap from the striking scorpion's helmet man to blasters and send jets of laser energy into the already weakened target. Roll d6. If the score is equal to or more on the target's toughness, 1 wound is sustained. Saving throws from the man blaster attacks result AP -2. There you go. There's an it's just like you get to fire them just before combat's resolved. Arm penetration d6 +4. Power axe, power fist, power maul. All the individual artwork as well. It was a nice idea here. The Rough Rider hunting lance. Strength 6 -1, 2 damage, d6 d12 +6. Not bad at all. Power sword, 2d6 +5. Arm penetration. Swords and other hand arms, just to give you a comparison, that's strength +d6. The Thunder Hammer, arm penetration, automatic. Okay. Oh boy. Bit of artwork here. Then you got pistols. The auto pistol, the bolt pistol, the hand flamer. And you had a little tear-shaped marker for that. That's pistols. Needle pistol, plasma pistol, shuriken pistol. A stub gun. The stub or slug gun is a primitive handgun firing solid bullets, usually one at a time. It's essentially the same as a 20th century revolver or automatic. There you go. Web pistols. Just to see the cult artwork. Basic weapons. There's the auto gun. That's what the Gretchen are carrying. Auto guns. Auto launchers. Auxiliary grenade launcher. Bolt gun. And it's steel strength 4, AP -1, 1 damage. A bow, crossbow, death spitter, flames. That's the larger tear-shaped marker for that. There's the flesh borer. The graviton gun, which made a comeback in later editions. Grenade launcher, a hand bow. There's the las gun. That's got AP -1 modifier. Melter gun. To give you an idea on the melter gun, you're looking at strength 8, d6 damage, save modifier -4, arm penetration 2d6 +8. You've got muskets available. A needle sniper rifle. Needle sniper rifle. I'm wondering if the Ratlings carried them. And then the old Grin Ripper gun. Again, nice lovely artwork here. The individual weapons. It's a bit of lore. Background story. Pack grenade launcher. There's the plasma gun. Early concept there, but still echoes through to today. There's the shuriken catapult. Save you -2. You get sustained fire special rule. There's the shotgun. There's the storm bolter. The swooping hawk grenade pack. You can drop it as a crack or frag. Down to heavy weapons. There's the assault cannon, which is, oh, that's crazy. Strength 8 on the assault cannon, damage D10, AP -3, or save modifier -3, D6 + D10 +8. That's ridiculous. Auto cannon, 2d6 +8 arm penetration. The heavy bolter. The option to fire hellfire shells, always wins on a 2+. 2-inch acid splatter template. It's the heavy flamer. Looking to see the arm penetration on a las cannon. Find that understand. There's the heavy stub gun, like an orc dagger gun, or like the gun that their looters carry. Heavy plasma gun. More background fluff. Storyline. There's the heavy Weber. Charts for vehicles. Here's the las cannon. 3d6 +9. Nasty. It is nasty. AP -6. 2d6 damage. Strength 9. Move or fire rule though. Multi-melter. d6 +2d12 +8. Fuck, scary. -4. Modified damage 2d12. That's ridiculous. Strength 8. Scary stuff. There's the missile launcher. As per missile, right, so you've got super cracked missiles, frag missiles, melter missiles, blind missiles, anti-plant missile, plasma missile. There's the multi-laser. Damage D4, -1. Damage of D6, D4 +6. You got the Shrieker Cannon. Comparable, quite similar. Got sustained fire, 3 dice. Cyclone missile launcher. There's a chart here where it could go wrong. Perhaps you're on a double of some kind, something like that. Short support weapons. The battle cannon, 3d6 +8 arm penetration. The conversion beam projector. There's this distort cannon or anti-grav platform. It's from the Eldar. A rapier laser destroyer. The mole mortar. The scatter laser on anti-grav platform. A tarantula rules. Floodgun. The Floodgun, now who carries that? Ah, it's a squat weapon. The squad or the quad launcher is more commonly known as the Floodgun on account of the rhythmic and distinctive thud 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 noise that it makes when fired. The Floodgun was invented by the Engineers Guild of the Squat Homeworlds, although it is supplied to Adeptus Mechanicus who have copied the design. The weapon launches a close salvo of 4 shots, producing a pattern of 4 bursts on the ground. It is usually heavy, and for this reason it always mounted on its own special motorised tractor unit. The Floodgun's crew carry a special radio control box with which they control the weapon's movement and firing. The crew are able to lob salvos high into the air, hoping they will land on unseen enemy formations or buildings held by the foe. So there you go. Ah, so you had that's right, you had a template. 4 templates, each with a number on, you just line them up and it moved around in different directions. That's the Floodgun. So you've got grenades here, anti-plants, blind, choke grenades, frag grenades, hallucinogen. There's a whole table about hallucinogenic effects. More background story here. It's not crammed in at all, it's plenty of space. Nicely laid out. Crack grenades, melter bombs, photon flash flares, plasma rad grenades, that's your AdMech stuff coming in. Scare grenades. Has no effect on Space Marines, Eldar Aspect Warriors, Dreadnoughts, Terminators and closed vehicles. Affects everyone else though. Space Marine Scouts, Eldar Guardians, Orcs, Squats. Tanglefoot grenades, that's your Adeptus Custodes. Smoke grenades. The cloud moves, you have to calculate where it goes. Then armour and shields. So you've got primitive armour, natural armour, flak armour, mesh armour, it's your Eldar, carapace armour, it's your heavier armour for your guard, orc, heavy armour, Eldar aspect armour, Eldar rune armour, power armour, 3+ save, and Eldar hollow suits. Terminator tactical dreadnought armour, squat exo armour, refractive and then force fields here, refractor field, conversion field, Rosarius, displacer field, power field, shields, primitive shield, storm shield, suppression shield. And then onto war gear, you've got Psionics, combi weapon, Camelio line, so how you pronounce it, tricky one, communicator, a Frenzon. Gotta read what that is. Frenzon is a generic name for a number of drugs used to induce psychological effects on the recipient. These are usually injected via a dispenser device strapped to the wrist or throat, or in some cases implanted in the heart of the subject. A single dose of one of the specific types can be used to induce the psychological effects of frenzy, stupidity, terror or hatred. The psychology effects are automatic and no test is made against leadership. Only one psychological state can be induced at a time with a Frenzon. A single dose of Frenzon antidote, also contained in the dispensing device, will negate the induced psychological state. Repeated use of Frenzon is dangerous to the subject. Every time a dose is administered after the first roll of a d6 for the model affected, on a roll of 1 the model suffers d3 wounds. Frenzon is used extensively amongst the penal legions, Imperial Guard units made up of criminals, cutthroats, murderers and other social transgressors. In this case the Frenzon dispensers are permanently attached to the troops and controlled via closed channel communicators operated by tech priests of the Adeptus Mechanicus. Scary stuff. Jump packs talking about here. Swooping Hawk wings. And it's rules here, it's not just background fluff, it's giving you all your detailed rules. Medipacks, scanners, servo arms. Then you got special issue grenades, haywire grenades, scrambler grenade, stasis grenade, that's your death watch, toxin grenades, virus grenades, vortex grenade, targeters. It's +1 modifier to shooting. Remember the Land Raider, for example, is equipped with the weapons are equipped with targeters. Dark Reaper rangefinder, teleporters, teleport homer. So your factions entries are scattered throughout the book. You know, it's not all sectioned off. It's just gone through and you have to flick through to find what you're looking for. Now I'll zoom in. This is artwork we've seen from first edition. Actually, I think we saw that in the artwork with them. But again, look at the use of banners all across the board here for the Orcs. Loads of banners, very popular here for this edition. As the Orcs fighting away. I'm not sure if anyone identified them in the previous video, but still not sure what they are. I mean, there's your Meganobs just here, I believe, for Orcs. This model here. So what are those? And then here, Space Wolves fighting amongst the ruins. And again, a really inspired to love these custom built terrain sets. Really inspired to try and copy and build those myself. But Space Wolves, Long Fangs and Blood Claws. And that is it. Finishes with this piece here, and again it was very much inspired by this fortification. Thought it was superbly put together. I always dreamt of building something like that. Fighting away, Blood Angels fighting away against the Eldar. But it was these images here that inspired me as I got into 40k. It was those kind of games that we did our best to play ourselves. So that's that one done. That's War Gear. You see that the in-depth nature of this, loads of background fluff mixed in with the entries, but there's a fair bit of flicking. Remember, flicking backwards and forwards, you know, checking what weapons I've got, what the rules are as you work your way through shooting, close combat and so on, needing to know exactly what the rules were. And both sides will be sharing this, because whatever faction you're playing, everyone had to refer back to this book. So, you know, these are found inside the second edition box set, but if you're playing the game, they would have been put to good use. You'd be forever turning backwards and forwards in this book to find the relevant War Gear entries that you needed. So we've seen rules, weaponry, and now the actual units themselves, plus, you know, your background fluff and a bit more artwork and so on, will be covered here in this Codex Imperialis with the artwork here that's been taken from, it was used in the front cover of the second edition box set. But we'll take a look at this one next and see what's inside. But again, you've got to appreciate the depth of this artwork here. It's just the distance on it. You see this here. I'll zoom in to show you what I mean. You've got this in the foreground, the main focus. Then there's always seems to be a common concept here of the artwork was the attention to detail. So you've got this detail around here. Then you have your foreground detail, very, very detailed here. I'll zoom into little areas that you can see. And then zooming right off into the distance, the battle rages all the way, the eyes drawn in through here, and then fighting is like another battle going on with aircraft and titans and so on being blown to pieces and marching off in the distance, and then the background of the actual planet itself running across here. So there's massive depth to this artwork and incredible attention to detail going on. So I think that was one of the successes for Games Workshop, was their wisdom in using artwork to inspire people to get into the game. You know, it's what got me into the game. It's probably what got most people into the game. Is the incredible artwork that just, they were masterpieces. This is a masterpiece here. So credit where it's due. You get absorbed and sucked into the artwork, then it draws you into the game and into the hobby. And I think that's a very, very wise move from Games Workshop. Yes, it involves imagination, but your imagination was fed by this truly inspirational artwork. So zooming in, see you've got your main feature here, but look at this detail going on and this. And the artist has put loads of effort into this. See the head here, all the little details going on, and then right down here, little bits of sparks and so on, impacts from the bullets, the detail of this statue. And then see the way this goes on, and the distance, the battle raging in the distance, going all the way back. You see the tiny little banners and all the blood angels fighting away. You know, you can go into a gallery and just stare at this for a good hour just to appreciate all the work that's gone into it. And the explosions going on. There's a Land Raider. And then going further back than that, Titans. A Wolfhound Titan, something like that. And then you've got little aircraft, and then the actual city itself, the blue sky in the background as well. So incredible stuff. So Ultramarines, a Devastator squad, so it should be a squad of 10. Yep. Then Deathwing Terminators battle against World Eater Chaos Space Marines, just a squad of 5 Terminators. A strange squiggy hound thing here. I'll zoom in. I don't know what that is. Like a chaos hound of some kind. Strange. It's strange how this artwork, you know, this is an inside page, you know, important piece, and you've got a unit of 5 and a dreadnought, and that fills up half the page there. So yeah, there is the vast ranks of models. You don't really feel that in the second edition. Yes, the expansion is quite diverse, but the hordes of models seen in later editions is just not seen here. Games Workshop's still sort of expanding at this stage the range, but not having vast numbers of models to make up, you know, these huge impressive setups that we see later on. So more of a scaled down version, but the diversity is certainly there. We've seen a big diversity of models. So Rick Priestley, Andy Chambers, is that could well be an artist making a depiction of them. That's the same, I believe it's the same introduction that we saw in Rogue Trader, and it's this classic introduction here as well. So contents, again, the book's filled up for sure. So yeah, not just units then. This is your 40k background in general as well. The Galaxy. Then the Imperium, starting with the Imperium's more of a focus now on the Imperium. Structure of the Imperium, so the different areas. Adeptus Mechanicus, Administratum, Adeptus Terra, Adeptus Ministorium, Adeptus Custodes. It's the High Lords of Terra. This artwork here, incredible. All the way up to the Golden Throne. Just the vastness and the epicness of it all. So medieval and Dark Age it looks. Space Marines and the origins. Space Marines were created at the very dawn of Imperial history, approximately 10,000 years before the present day. Some of the chapters can trace the history back to that time. These are the chapters of the first founding, created by the scientists of the Emperor who take part in the Great Crusade, or to take part in the Great Crusade. Since that time, many other Space Marine chapters have been created, the most recent being those of the 26th founding. The chart below lists the original 20 chapters and their original leaders or primarchs and uniform colours. Many of these chapters took part in the rebellion known as the Horus Heresy and were subsequently destroyed or exiled. So I'll read these out. Dark Angels first, Lionel Johnson, dark green. Not black then, so they moved on quite quickly to dark green. It was black in Rogue Trader. The second chapter is deleted from Imperial records, oh dear. 3, which is chapters that turn to chaos. So this is one of them. It's the Emperor's Children, Fulgrim, and purple colour scheme. Number 4, which a lot of you are familiar with these, just we'll run through them. Then you can pick out any changes that have taken place. Number 4 is a chaos, a traitor chapter here, Iron Warriors. Perturabo is the Primarch, and it's white is the colour scheme. Number 5 is White Scars. Jakati Khan, white colour scheme. 6 is Space Wolves, Liam Russ, grey. 7 is Imperial Fists, Regal Dawn, yellow or gold. Number 8, Night Lords, Chaos. Night Haunter is the name of the Primarch, and it's dark blue. Number 9 is Blood Angels, Sanguinius, red. Number 10 is the Iron Hands, Ferrus Manus, black. Number 11 is deleted from Imperial Records. You'll have to just invent your own somehow. And number 12, Chaos is World Eaters, Angron, black. 13, Ultramarines, Rebute Gilliman, blue. 14, the Death Guard, Mortarion, white. Chaos, and then 15, Chaos, Thousand Suns, Magnus the Red. Colour scheme is red for the Thousand Suns. Not at the moment, but red back here originally. Number 16 is the Lunar Wolves, Founders Horus, black. Where's the Black Legion? That's number 16. Number 17, Word Bearers, Lorgar, red, colour scheme, Chaos. Number 18 is the Salamanders, Vulcan, dark green. Number 19, the Raven Guard, that's Corax and black. And then number 20 is Alpha Legion, Alfarius, blue is the colour scheme for them. The physique of a Space Marine. A secondary heart. An osmodular, which is a bone strengthener, it's an implant. A neuroglottis. That's he's able to chew things for toxicity and nutrients. Hemastamen, it's a blood maker. It's very bright red blood. A Laraman's organ, it's the healing organ. It forms an instant layer of scar tissue, staunching blood flow, protecting the wound. What detail here? A catapulation node. Space Marines can rest half of their brain at once and thus stay awake for days at a time. You learn something every day. A preomna. Space Marines have a second or pre-stomach, which allows them to eat otherwise poisonous or indigestible materials. An omophagia. Space Marines can gain part of a person or creature's memory by eating its flesh. A multi-lung. Space Marines have 3 lungs and can close off their normal lungs in favour of their bioengineered multi-lung. Lyman's ear. Space Marines do not have the internal organs of normal human ear. These are removed and replaced with the Lyman's ear. Sharper hearing. A Sussen membrane. It's a suspended animation organ. This brain implant allows Space Marines to enter a voluntary state of suspended animation in which they can survive for centuries if necessary. I think we see Space Marines as just bigger humans. They got some, they're on steroids or whatever, look bigger, stronger, but it's not. It's a complete biological overhaul with these. Crazy. A melanchrome, the pigment organ. Space Marine's skin colour is photochromatic and reacts almost instantly to the strength of sunlight. The melanchrome protects the skin and provides limited protection from radiation. Right, interesting. An olytic kidney. They have an extra kidney which filters any harmful substances from their blood. Space Marine can enter a trance in which his heart pumps blood frantically around his body, whilst the olytic kidney purifies the blood. Bioscopia, that's muscle builder. A macronoid, a skin sealer. Sweat protective waxy substance which seals and protects the skin. Marines are cocooned in this way before they enter suspended animation. They produce their own oils to protect their body before they go into suspended animation. Crazy. A Betcher's gland. The poison bite. Space Marine can synthesize poison which he stores in this modified salivary gland. The poison is highly acidic. Not only can the Space Marine spit poison, but he can also use the corrosive acid to gradually burn away even strong metals. I've never heard of that before. Progonoids. The gene seeds. Every Space Marine has these organs, one implanted in the neck and the other in the chest. The organs respond to the presence of other implants in the body by creating germ cells corresponding to those implants. These germ cells grow and are stored in the progenoid organs. Mature progenoid organs can be removed and new implants artificially cultured from them. This is the way new implants can be created. so Chapter depends upon its Space Marines to create other Space Marines. An oculobe, it's eyesight, they can see in the dark. An interface hardened shell-like rib cage of the Space Marine is covered with stiff membrane. Neuron connectors from the membrane penetrate the Space Marine's spine and connect the motor nervous system to the interface connectors. The interface link to the Space Marine's power armor, battle suit, or to other types of armor equipment, controls, or monitors. This allows the Space Marine to control an armoured suit just as if it were his own body. It also allows the Space Marine's heart rate and other vital signs to be read off from a connector point on the armour. What detail though, fascinating stuff. Then Special Marines, Tech Marines, Librarians, Apothecaries, Chaplains. And then it talks now about the Primarchs here as well. But you're starting to see a lot of emphasis now on the Imperium, Space Marines becoming the major feature here. It's pretty much all that's been talked about at this point so far. So then Space Marines, Tech Marines, Servitors, Chaplains, Apothecary, Librarians, Space Marines, Scouts. So you're starting to see your structure. This is to continue on your diversity of units. Then on to the Imperial Guard, recruitment, regiments, initial deployment. See what we have here. Imperial Guard, it is strange with the Imperial Guard. There's such diversity that Games Workshop created with them, the different regiments, and so it should be. You know, multiple worlds. There should be loads of different varieties. That should be a time. But Games Workshop seem to have got stuck on Cadians, and that's it. And it's an awful shame. So I'm hoping that they'll give the Imperial Guard the expansion that they so desperately need, because it's not all about Cadians. There's massive variety, huge potential that is there for the Guard, just waiting to be expanded into. So it is a shame, but who knows? Games Workshop perfectly capable of doing a brilliant job introducing the different regiments. So you've got regular Guardsmen. There's your Rough Riders, Halfling Snipers. They're known by a variety of other names, including Runtlings, Stunties, and Maggots. There's Ogrins, Penal Troops, Commissars. So quite straightforward. Then you've got the Inquisition. Grey Knights talked about in there. Inquisitor, there's your Grey Knights. Just 1 win models. Initiative 5 though. Adeptus Arbites, Judges and Arbitrators. Then your Telepathica, it's your Psychers. The Adeptus Administorum, it's their organisation. Confessors, Preachers, Missionaries. Adeptus Sororitas, that's your Sisters of Battle. That is the fighting arm of the Adeptus Administorum. There they are, Sororitas, and the Preachers, Confessors. And you've got the Adeptus Mechanicus here. So Adeptus Mechanicus, you've got Magos, Alogus, Genitor, Artisan, Electro Priest, there they are, Engineers, Rune Priest, a Trans Mechanic, a Lex Mechanic, and Servitors. Talks about Mars, the Titan Legions, the Quest for Knowledge, a fair bit of background information, there's your artwork for them. Tech Priests, Tech Priest Engineers, Electro Priests, Frenzy Unit, Servitors, a lot of background information on these. And then on to Assassins, the Administratum, a lot of Imperial stuff going on here. You've got Masters, Ordnance, Scribes, Ciphers, Curators, Menials, Subordinates. Then on to the Orcs. Talk about the background, their clans. There's the clans, the Bad Moons, Goths, Blood Axes, Death Skulls, Snake Bites, Evil Sons. That's not changed. They're still running those now. So it just shows you a lot of things set here for future editions of 40k. So regular Orcs. There's Strength 3, Toughness 4, the old Orcs. Gretchen. Snotlings, Toughness 1. Runt Herd. just only 1 wound for him as well. Pain Boys, just 1 wound model as well. Mechanics, Weird Boys, Boar Boys. Now I think they're coming back to 40k, the new sculpts that I've seen, but there they are, 2nd edition. Storm Boys, we're having a box of those, very, very proud of my Storm Boy models. That was a mixture of, I believe, plastic and metal models, but I love my set of the Storm Boys. You got Mad Boys here as well, and some orky background story, and then onto the Eldar. Always love this piece of artwork. We'll take a look. Just walking down a corridor, but just love the concept of Eldar Armor. I really love my friend's collection of Eldar models that he had. Yeah, he had a big range of models, and they always look fantastic. Always inspired by them. Always loved the Eldar. Now that I never went into collecting them. My friend had them. I was focusing on Blood Angels, but you can see why I come back to Eldar. And then hence, Eldar being one of my favourite factions now, and then the channel, Striking Scorpion 82. So that inspiration began back here. But with artwork like this, just the whole body armour here, I think just looks fantastic. Really, really good. There's the Avatar. Now his stat line. Movement 6, weapon skill and ballistic skill 10. Strength 8, toughness 8, 7 wounds, initiative 10, 5 attacks, leadership 10. I remember him from games. A friend of mine had this model, and you just didn't want to go near the Avatar. The Avatar was utterly terrifying, just ridiculously good. So I remember that. Iron body. The Avatar's body is fashioned from burning iron, and its blood is glowing magma. As such, it has a natural resistance to damage from ordinary weaponry. The Avatar has a saving throw of 2 or more on D6 in the same way as armour. However, unlike ordinary armour, a weapon's saving throw modifier cannot reduce the Avatar's saving throw to worse than 4. Even a hit from a weapon with a higher saving throw modifier, such as a las cannon, cannot reduce the saving throw to worse than 4. So there's almost a bit of invulnerability coming in here, an early concept of that. You can see how the Avatar was solid as a rock. It causes terror and special invulnerabilities. The Avatar's supernatural metabolism is based on molten metal as an incredible temperature. Weapons which are heat-based are therefore useless against the Avatar. These include melter weapons, plasma, flamers, and equivalent grenade and missile types. The Avatar cannot be harmed by these weapons in any way. So used to have that rule. I sort of wish they'd bring it back. They may do something like that to try and make the molten body rules realistic. I personally run a Forge World Avatar now. I just think it's way better than the one that's currently available. Aspect Warriors. So Dire Avengers, Fire Dragons, Swooping Hawks, Striking Scorpions, Dark Reapers, Howling Banshees. Yeah, this hasn't changed. And this has been going, this is 1993. God, 27, 28 years ago, and it hasn't changed. So they're all pretty much the same. I'm just looking here. Howling Banshees is the quickest, 6-inch move. Slowest is Dark Reapers. Highest initiative is Dire Avengers, actually. Howling Banshees, Striking Scorpions, and Swooping Hawks. And that's about it, really. Weapon skill and ballistic skill, all of a 4. Eldar Guardians, Warlocks. They're getting to squats. They're coming up in just a moment. Fast Seers, Eldar Scouts. Some more background information. Again, loads of space here. Doesn't feel rushed or crushed in. Plenty of time to bring in background storyline as they go along. Exarchs, Harlequins. They can use dispersed formation. Yes, because you could spread out a little bit to try and protect yourself from blast weapons. Initiative 7 on these, and they are weapon skill, ballistic skill 5. So they're cut above regular Eldar. 6-inch move. Yeah, scary stuff from the Harlequins. So background story of the squats. Talks about the homeworlds, the 700 leagues, the guilds, the Orc Wars. Because it's always a classic, squats versus orcs. Always a classic. You see it throughout the storyline. And this is your regular, your units now for squats. So regular squats, initiative 2, but the toughness 4, strength 3, but toughness 4. Weapon skill, ballistic skill 3, weapon skill 4 with these. Then you've got guild masters, engineer guild masters, ancestor lords. And then on to chaos. So they not as popular, just trying to think. So they weren't huge as squats. They were there. They were a presence for sure, but still not as popular as orcs. I don't think. Less of a range for them. Not as popular as Eldar either. So you know, but they're certainly there for sure. And there's a good representation from here in second edition. I've always loved the idea of squats. It's another glaring thing that I think I'd love to see Games Workshop bring the squats back somehow. So just having a little look. I don't suppose their disappearance is mentioned here because they're alive and well in second edition. As during their isolation, the squats had changed. They were no longer human, and their civilization had taken a divergent path that gave them many advantages over the Imperium. Today, the homeworlds and the Imperium trade for their mutual benefit, and for the most part enjoy peaceful relations. Squats and humans share many common enemies, including orcs. So it is in both races' interests to cooperate wherever possible. However, relations have not been entirely peaceful by any means. Squats are intensely proud, bluff, and straightforward. They take great hurt at any slight to their honour or double dealing, especially in matters of trade, and are likely to be stubborn in pursuit of retribution. This is very dwarf style, even thinking of things like Lord of the Rings. Very similar kind of attitude here. The 700 leagues, just their structure, and the Orc Wars. Yeah. So it says, I'll read this last bit, just get a little bit of flavour about the squats. The homeworlds lie close to two of the most dangerous adversaries in the galaxy, the Chaos Warbands of the Eye of Terror and the extensive Orc empires of the Northern Spiral. So the background for their demise is certainly there. The squats have never relented in their struggle against Chaos and lose no time in tracking down and destroying Chaos Raiders. The main threat from Chaos has always been in space, where Chaos Warbands attack ships as they move through the warp. The other great enemy of the squats are the Orcs. Although this was not always the case, at one time the squats were content to leave the Orcs alone, and even to trade with them to some extent. The homeworlds are inhospitable to Orcs in many cases, so there was never any great clash of interests between the two races. This state of affairs did not last very long. The squat records of their early history are confused and incomplete, but it is clear that after a short period of mutual trading, the squats found themselves suddenly attacked by massive Orc forces. Caught by surprise, several strongholds fell to the Orc invaders. Only a last-ditch defence eventually brought the green-skin aliens to a halt. The squats are appalled at the massive loss in life, but also by the unashamed treachery of the Orcs. The squats have never forgotten this lesson. Some of the more enduring squat folk legends tell of the hopeless defence of a beleaguered fortress or a stranded land train during Orc attack. Many wars have been fought against the Orcs since the first Orc attack. All bitter conflicts fought to the last proud warrior. So you can see their bitter struggle against the Orcs. Definitely showing how the squats could find themselves in trouble. And it ends with that. If anyone knows how squats came to an end, is it written in? Do you read about what happened to them, or do they just disappear off the map? And I know there's controversy about them, how the Games Workshop just wrote them out of the lore, but if anyone knows the details of that. So we're ending at this point here where the squats have almost been wiped out by the Orcs, but they've made their stand and are now determined not to get caught out again. Now they wage their war most often against the Orcs. But there's no means, it seems they came close. Yes, they could have been overrun, destroyed, but it seems that they've been determined now not to get caught out again. But it's interesting to see where it continues on after that, because after this it just goes straight into the units here. So the squats, we've covered this already. So I'm just fascinated to hear about the squats. Anyone with any information on that, please share in the comment section below. Chaos, Demon Special Rules, Demonic Aura, Light, and Demonic Cavalry. Bloodthirst, the Greater Demon of Khorne, Blood Letters. Games Workshop now they've split these out into different books, but it's going to list all the Chaos stuff here. Fleshhounds of Khorne, Juggernauts. It's all familiar concepts here. The Keeper of Secrets, Demonettes, Children of Slaanesh, Fiends of Slaanesh, Steeds of Slaanesh, Great Unclean One, Greater Demon of Nurgle, there he is. Nurglings, Plague Bearers of Nurgle, Beasts of Nurgle. Strange stuff. Strange artwork here. The Lord of Change, Greater Demon of Tzeentch, Flamers of Tzeentch, Horrors of Tzeentch, Discs of Tzeentch. Strange stuff. Chaos Space Marines, Chaos Champions of Nurgle, Slaanesh, Tzeentch and Khorne, Chaos Cultists. Always thought that was a scary bit of artwork. I'll zoom in here. And there it is. Scary stuff. Beastmen. There they are. And our review is coming to an end now. The Tyranids. Now, let's just give it a quick idea. So the Tyranids are occupying roughly the same kind of space as the squads. So that's giving you an idea. So a major faction for sure. Definitely. So there's Tyranids, the background information. So I'm just looking through for the Zoats to see if they're mentioned here, because I found, remember earlier on we saw one of the models buried away, but no mention of them here. I don't think they're an entry either in this. Genestealer Hybrids, Genestealers, Genestealer Patriarch, Genestealer Magus, Tyranny of Warriors, Termagants, Carnifex, and I don't know, so the Zoats not in here, so they faded away now by this stage. By the looks of it, I can't see anything else to show that they're in here. So that's the disappearance of the Zoats, not even mentioned in the fluff. So sort of a shame to see these things go. You wonder, you think so, what if these things had continued on up to where they are today? But you know, the lore changes and things are added to and taken away. But it's fascinating just to look back. Here, Celebration of the Armies. Then you've got Ragnar Blackmane Space Wolves, and Ghazghkull Thrakker's Orc Warbands. All of the most models that they can put together for these different factions. Still a pretty good size, but sort of the average size army being represented. Just there's little buggies. Lots of banners. All the armies carrying these banners. Not as popular today, but whatever showcases we've seen, it's there's always been banners included. What on earth is that? I don't know what they are. Strange little creations. Strangest weird stuff. Odd little spiders and bugs. There's another one of them here. Your early concepts of Rippers. There's your Space Marine Scouts with their Mohawk designs. There's a scout with a missile launcher or heavy bolter. There's the captain at the top. There you go. So that's your review for Warhammer 40,000 2nd edition. There's one extra bit that I wasn't planning to cover. I'll just very briefly flick through this. This is Codex Army Lists. I'm just going to quickly see what else is in here and give you an idea what date we're looking at. This is 1993 on here. I'm just seeing if there's anything else, just a quick flick through it, just to have a little look. Yeah, Imperial Guard Colonel, 65 points. Just seeing if there's anything else. There's a command section being talked about. Squads, Auxilia, Veteran Squads, Ogrins, Rattlings. Just seeing if there's anything else being added on. There's the war gear, the agents, Grey Knight Terminators, Squats, Warlord, Battle Standard, Half Guard, Engineer Guildmaster, Ancestor Lord. Right, there's a little bit of expansion on this. I could be wrong, but it may well be a little bit of expansion. Yeah, you got Heavy Weapons Bike. That's not in the original. Bike Squads, that's not in the original. So this is an expansion here. Freebooter Captain. I don't think he was in there either. Yeah, freebooter pirates, just entries there. Ogryn mob, fighting for the Orcs by the looks of it. Wild boys, flash gits. Yeah, there's loads of extra stuff being added in. Different mobs. Eldar. Aspect warriors, exarchs. Guardian combat. Guardian close combat squad. Guardian battle squad. Eldar scouts. Vehicles. Chaos. Chaos demons. Tyranids. Yeah. Broods and support. So yeah, there's a little bit of expansion in that one. That just came as part of this set here. This has come from James. James tracked all these down. Good for him. He managed to get hold of Rogue Trader, and he's then gone ahead and bought all the other editions of 40k. He's reviewed these already. You can check out his channel at JB Wargamer 87. You can see his reviews here. But in this video, thanks to James for letting me run through this book. Chance to step back and to delve into a previous edition, going right the way back to 1993. Here, so a chance to see the early concepts, background information, celebration of the artwork, the models, and a chance to even gain some inspiration for your own 40k models and units and armies at this current point in time. But a retro review here. We've taken a look now at 2nd edition. If you've enjoyed this series, enjoyed this video, then please leave a like, thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a comment, it really helps out the video and the channel is much appreciated. Hopefully, I would like to review 40k 3rd edition. This is where I stopped playing 40k. This is going to be new ground for me as we look at 3rd edition and onwards. But again, another trip down memory lane. Very much looking forward to producing that one in the near future as well. But I hope it's been enjoyable. Chance to celebrate 40k in its early days. Thanks for watching and tune in next time.